Tunica intima. We're at a low power magnification. You don't see intima that well. It's not that wide of a layer. It's only consisting of this layer, right through here, the lighter colored layer. Be tunica intima. I can make out a few nuclei up here of the endothelial cell lining, but it's not very wide. Most of the thickness in here is going to be tunica adventitia. Now, you can see some of it very obvious. I mean, they use an elastic stain here where I can see the elastic fiber staining real dark. What's not always obvious is where does tunica media stop and tunica adventitia begin. They're labeling it way out here. I've seen other books that might drag that cutoff right through here, something like that. Don't get caught up on it, okay? If I want tunica media, I'm putting the star right here. If I want tunica adventitia, I'm putting the star out here. I'm not going to label it in here, okay? Not going to happen. All right, so. Okay, here if I do this, if I label tunica media, I'll put it out this level over to here, okay? I'm not going to put it right here where it's kind of in between the two. I'm not going to label it there. If I want tunica adventitia, I'll put the star down here, okay? Yeah, it won't allow me to change the color, I don't believe. No, it does not, at least not at this setting. All right, now you can see the red on this one, okay? Tunica intima, realize this right here, the line's going through tunica intima, okay? That lighter staining region, I can see, for instance, right here, there's the nucleus of an endothelial cell. This line right here is going to the nucleus of another endothelial cell. You can see that. And so I would label, say this region right through about something like this as being my tunica media, and then somewhere out here is going to be my tunica adventitia. And once again, like you can see in here, we haven't used an elastic stain, but these elastic fibers are so large, how we've talked about the idea of there being, find my pointer, see these white lines running through here, just above the line I'm drawing? Those are the large elastic fibers. Here's a wavy one right here. Elastic fibers are so large that I'm having trouble tracing it, but you can see it. The white lines you're seeing running through there are very large diameter elastic fibers. Okay, so you almost had to imagine they were so small and dispersed and ligaments, you couldn't see them as well as you can here within the aorta. All right, here is a stain, and I don't know exactly how they formulate this elastic stain, but what it does is it doesn't stain the elastic fibers that well in tunica media. If you take a look at this, whoops, my issue right now is I can't always spot my little tiny dot. Right out here, this is from here on out, this is my tunica adventitia. Here's my tunica media in here, and I can see some elastic fibers, but that's where the majority of elastic fiber is going to be. It doesn't stain them very well. And then right here, this dark line that we're seeing up here, that's my internal elastic lamina, okay? That we're labeling right there, which of course is the border between tunica intima, which is very narrow here. And tunica intima is just this little area right in here. Border between tunica intima and tunica media. And I could say that this line, going to this arrow right here, that line could be, line right here could be my external elastic lamina. All right, this is one not common to use a gold stain. Normally we say use gold stains on neuro because it shows up real well, and it's obviously an expensive stain to use, but they used a gold stain here and put an elastic component in it as well. This is the aorta. You can see right here the dark line. That dark line pointing to right here would be my internal elastic lamina. This line, dark line going around, indicated by the arrow right here, that's going to be my external elastic lamina. And so I can certainly label this right here as being my tunica media. this out here as being my tunica adventitia. Okay, and it's at the low power, I really can't see tunica intima here. What is this that I've got down here? Take a look, it's either in the lumen or within tunica intima. So I can't see my endothelial lining is, my endothelial lining come up along the surface here. What is that? Plaque, exactly. That's plaque buildup in the wall of the aorta. Okay, that's pathology, not histology, so you're not gonna have to know that. I'm not gonna make it, I'm not gonna label it and ask you what it is, but you know enough about plaque to say, ah, yeah, I see it. That makes sense now. All right, looking at smaller vessels. Okay, right here we've got an arteriole. Now, if we take a look at it, how do we know what we're looking at? Well, here is the blood right in here. Here are blood cells. Here's a white blood cell right here, because I can see a nucleus. So if I look at the wall of it here, my tunica intima does not stand out well, but this line right here represents my tunica intima. And then all of this must be my tunica media. You look at it, it's, you know, 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 cell layers thick of tunica media. How do I know that's an arteriole and not a venule? Arterioles have very good structure to their wall. Venules do not. And that's not the best of size necessarily. They use a different stain on it here, trichrome stain of some kind. But it's got good structure to the walls. When we get to venules, you'll see some difference here. All right, here is an arteriole, and I'm not gonna make you distinguish between arteriole and artery, okay? Nor will I make you distinguish between venule and vein unless it's only like in 1 cell thick or something like that. You know, something like this, I'm not gonna ask you, is that a small artery or is that an arteriole? Okay, you won't have to make that call. But we look at it here, it has very definite structure to the wall. We can see the dark line tracing through right here. That would be my internal elastic lamina. I can make out a little bit of my external elastic lamina in terms of dark lines around the outside, maybe not continuous, but certain places. I can really make out my external elastic lamina. And then if I look at my tunica media, I'm gonna say 1, 2, 3, 4 cells thick, something like that. Of tunica media, very well defined. You aren't going to see a nice internal elastic lamina like that on a venule. That's got to be an arteriole. Okay, that we have there. And I'm not going to ask you how many cell layers thick, but I will point out that it's a decent walled arteriole there. All right, if we take a look here, here's the lumen coming across right here. No blood in it. But if I take a look, I can see, for instance, right here, I'm just drawing the lines to them. I'm not making arrows here, here, here. Those are my endothelial cells, correct? Flattened nuclei, long axis parallel to the surface, which says that this line of cells I'm tracing through right here must be my tunica media. Okay? This is a very small arteriole. The wall is, the tunica media is literally 1 smooth muscle cell layer thick, isn't it? You can make out there's only 1 layer of smooth muscle in that wall. How do I know that's not a venule? Well, I want you to compare that to this. Okay, here's my lumen. I can see red blood cells in it. And you're more likely to see red blood cells in venules and arteries, but that doesn't always hold true. And so if I look clear, once again, find my endothelial cells. Here's a nucleus. Here's a nucleus. Here's a nucleus. I can find nuclei on the other side, here and here. And then that would say that this nucleus, this nucleus, this nucleus, this nucleus would all be my tunica media. If I look at those, compare those. These are actually pericytes, because this is a very small venule. But if I compare that tunica media to the cells there versus the ones up above, I would say this looks like a type A kid drew this. This looks like a type B kid drew it, doesn't it? Okay? look at the difference in here. Hold on just a second. See how these are defined and plump and round in terms of the cells in tunica media? I mean, they're more defined. That's what I say, a type A person drew them, they're defined. Compare that to these cells here. You know, this one, I mean, nuclei are there, but the cell walls and all aren't well defined, are they? Okay? Arterioles are always better organized than venules. Question? Pericytes are within the tunica medium when we're talking to venules. You know, a post-capillary venule, the tunica media is composed of pericytes instead of smooth muscle. Okay? There are a few other hands, and that may have been all the hands, I don't know. All right, now I want you to compare that. I purposely put 3 slides in a row here. I want this one being the third one. If I look here, I've got a blood vessel coming across, and, oh, there it is. Okay, you know, here is the lumen of the vessel coming across. You can make out a little bit of red blood cells, you know, in here. Here is an endothelial nucleus, here is an endothelial nucleus, here is an endothelial nucleus, so I can make out part of my tunica intima. What about out here? Do I see anything in terms of a tunica media? Neither side. No, if I do make out right here, if this is an endothelial cell right there, I've got this other cell right here. Discontinuous outside, what would that one be? That's a pericyte, okay? Not part of tunica media, because we don't have a tunica media here, just pericytes occasionally seen. No real tunica media, that's the capillary, okay? Now, one disadvantage of me marking it up with the markers here, but I purposely put a small arteriole with only 1 cell thick tunica media, small venule with only 1 cell thick tunica media, and a capillary. I put those all in a row for you guys to be able to say, look at those, and you'll say, okay, I can distinguish those, okay? Question?
Can you point out the pericyte again?
The pericyte, I've only got one here, it's what I've circled right here. If I take a look, I've got the nucleus here. Whenever I show you a pericyte with a capillary, I'm always gonna show it to you where I can see the nucleus right here, that nucleus of an endothelial cell, and then just outside of the wall of that capillary, I've got another cell sitting up against the wall. That cell sitting against the wall has to be a pericyte. Okay? This is probably a pericyte right here as well. Okay, there's my endothelial cell, and this is sitting just out the wall. I like this with a nuclei. You can tell one's got a front row seat that can high five the red blood cells as they come through the lumen. The other one's 1 row back.
Where's the other one?
The other one is this nucleus
Okay.
right there. Yeah, the post-capillary, any of the venules, post-capillary venule, collecting venule, they'll have a solid wall of pericytes. Whereas capillaries just have a pericyte here, pericyte there, okay? They are not connected. Pericytes don't touch each other. Okay, let me ask, do you like it better with me drawing, or would you rather me point?
Point.
Point,
Can't really see
okay?
it.
Then I will go back to pointing. You're part of my experiment. All right, question? Got somebody had a hand up. Okay. All right, if we take a look here. I've got 2 small vessels right here. I can make out my endothelial cells lining, and then 1 layer of smooth muscle or pericytes surrounding it. Over here, I've got 1, you know, the endothelial cells, and I've got this layer out here. I mean, here I've got 1 cell further out here, but I've also got a little bit more pink out here as well. This one's probably further out as well. Basically what I'm saying is this right here is an arteriole, this is a venule. Arteries, veins, arterioles, venules run side by side typically. It's not true when we're talking great big ones necessarily. Run side by side. Arterioles, once again, they're gonna be nice and round, very distinct walls. They're gonna look like a type A kid drew them. Venules typically have a larger lumen. because their walls aren't contracted in, and much less defined wall to it here. Right out here would be a capillary. There's a lumen of a capillary. Here is a capillary kind of cut on a tangential section, but this is what I'd label as a capillary, right here. So arterial and venial typically run side by side. And then here is a capillary. All right, what am I looking at here? First of all, what is this right here? That's a valve, isn't it? And that's a valve, so the question is this a vein or is this a lymphatic vessel? I'm gonna say it's a vein. I don't see any blood in it. I don't see the corresponding arterial necessarily, but I do see a lot of pink in the wall to it, okay? A lymphatic vessel, once we start looking at those, you're gonna realize I don't see much of the wall at all, okay? All right, capillaries. Capillaries, when we see them running through tissue, see connective tissue here, here's a capillary with red blood cells to it. The only thickness to the wall, here's the nucleus of an endothelial cell, here's the thickness of an endothelial cell nucleus, endothelial cell nucleus, just a little bit of it. Here I've got the entire profile of the nucleus of an endothelial cell, no hint of anything outside of that, it's gotta be a capillary. All right, if I take a look here, here is the vessel running right through here. I've got a little bit of a nucleus of white blood cell there. I've got a polar nucleus. Here, here, here would be endothelial cell nuclei making up the wall of it. No hint of any type of tunica media outside of that endothelial lining, making that a capillary. All right, we look in here, whoa, I don't see the capillary, that's because they're coming out of the screen at you. Here's the lumen of a capillary. Here's the lumen of a capillary. Here's the lumen of a capillary right here. Okay, another one not shown as well down here, but you could label any one of these. 1, 2, 3 as being the capillaries in here. All right, if I take a look here, the first one that jumps out at me is this one right here. There is a capillary. Turns out there's even a smaller one in here. There's a luminal one right there. That's what those red blood cells would have to be in a Rolex to fit through that one. The capillaries you can often miss them. If I take a look here, I've got tons of capillaries. See red blood cells in them. You know, here's one, here's one, here's one, here's one. Those are my large ones, but if I look, I don't get any hint of tunica media in the wall, do I? Look at this one. There's a tiny one right here. Okay, it's got a red blood cell in it, but that one is about as small as you can get, have the red blood cell pass through. Here's another one right here. Here's one right here. I do have a large lymphatic vessel. I mean, right there. Okay, how do I know that's lymphatic vessel? Well, it's too uniform to just be a separation of the tissue. And I've got a little bit of a flap of a valve right there. I don't have the flap on the other side, but there's a flap of a valve right there. There's the lymphatic vessel. I'll give you better lymphatic vessel. Someone going to tell me what the tissue is up here? Skeletal muscle, isn't it? Okay. In other words, this may be the paramecium and skeletal muscle right here. All right, here you can see the capillary running vertically through here. You can see the red blood cells lining up in a Rolex. You look at the wall, I mean, I can make out a few nuclei out as endothelial cells, but there's no hint of a tunica media out here, is there? So I know I must be looking at a capillary. All right, let's look at a few lymphatic vessels. Now, the first one here is a giveaway, okay? Look at, I mean, there's a vessel, nice and round. I can see an endothelial cell. Really, I mean, for as large as that lumen is, if it's a vein, I should see a little bit of a pink wall out here. The tunica media, I don't even get a hint of that though, do I? plus the fact there's no blood in it. Where you miss the lymphatic vessel is this up here. This kind of just looks like the tissue separated, kind of like the tissue separated over here. But if I take a look, what is this right here, this nucleus? That's the nucleus of an endothelial cell. And a lot of times, like I say, lymphatic capillaries, rather than being, or lymphatic vessels, rather than being nice and round, oval shaped like this, well defined, they're collapsed in an irregular shape to them. And you just catch that endothelial cell, and there's a little bit too much pink along the edge here for me to feel good about calling that just a separation in the tissue. All right, here is a large lymphatic vessel coming through here. Now, this one has a great deal of lymph in it. It's probably draining inside of infection. You'll see a few white blood cells in here, nuclei. But all the material I've seen here is lymph, it's high in protein. And it's carrying a lot in order for it to be open up like this throughout its entire length. Okay? In other words, there's probably an infection. If this is upstream here, there's an infection up here somewhere, leading to a whole lot of lymph flowing through that lymphatic vessel. All right? Now this is one how lymphatic vessels often look. You know, you can see spaces in here that, yeah, you know, that was filled with brown substance and it looks empty now. Maybe it just separated a little bit more. No, look, right here. All I can see is one endothelial cell nucleus, but that's because this is a collapsed lymphatic vessel. Once again, prior to this lecture, you would have overlooked that, wouldn't you? If we were looking at this, you'd say, yeah, I've got some type of, you know, pink collagen fibers in there. I can see a lot of places where there's no fibers. There is, you know, there's just ground substance there. You wouldn't have asked me, Dr. Hill, what is this right here? Okay, that's a lymphatic vessel, a collapsed lymphatic vessel. You look for those endothelial cell nuclei, or in this case, nucleus, singular, and that is what they often appear as. Okay, this one is nice because it's showing us multiple vessels. If I take a look, what would this one right here be? That's an arterial, correct? I won't make it, I'll label one or the other, I won't give you both choices. What would this then be? That's a corresponding vein or venule, isn't it? See the nice thickness of the wall here? See the much less defined wall here of the corresponding venule? Okay? A lot of times, well, I guess it is true. This one has a larger lumen than this, doesn't it? Okay? The lumen tends to be larger in the venules. And then what is this one out here? That's now my lymphatic, isn't it? Okay? They don't always necessarily parallel the veins that closely, but look at least in the vein here, I can make out the idea of a tunica media being there, can't I? I mean, I flatten cells, not that thick, but I can make out there's a tunica media in the wall. Here, I really can't, so to speak, can I? Got even a thinner wall than the vein will have. So that's the lymphatic vessel, and there's other things in here. This is another, I'm gonna say small arterial maybe, maybe a venule. It's hard to say when they're not together sometimes. You know, there's a small venule right there. I don't have a good section. That was probably an arterial. Here's another arterial out here that we just cut the edge of. There's plenty of vessels. I'd only ask you 1, 2, 3 prominent ones in there. What are they? That's a nice slide so you can compare them. Okay. All right. You know, you look at this right here. I see, you know, some big, fat collagen fibers, but a lot of areas that was filled by ground substance. But then if I look in here, I can start seeing multiple endothelial cells, can't I? And that made me say that this is a lymphatic vessel. And if I look down here, what is this? That's the flap of a valve, isn't it? So I know I'm in a lymphatic vessel then. But once again, you can miss it. I mean, you can see it's even coming up here, the lymphatic vessel coming in through here. This may even be part of the lymphatic vessel because I've got an endothelial cell there, don't I? And I would put the star right here, right here. You know, it's in the lumen of the lymphatic vessel. Once again, you missed those previously, wouldn't you? All right, if we take a look here. Arterial, venule. I don't really make out much in terms of tunica media on these, but nice, round, type A arteriole, not as round, larger lumen venual, and then this out here would be my lymphatic vessel. Here I'm not really seeing the thickness of the walls, I'm looking at the shape overall, aren't I? Arteriole, venual, lymphatic capillary, lymphatic vessel. Do I have a capillary on here? No, I do not. Okay, I said label it, I don't know where, I do not see one in there. It's arteriole, venual, lymphatic vessel. Because it's running next, basically, I'm gonna know because they're two side by side. And I mean, arteriole nice and round, less round, larger lumen, venual. Typically would not have, you can occasionally catch where it's branching. But remember, arteries, venules tend to run side by side, and they just different characters in terms of the shape and size.
On slide 25, where
Okay,
does it,
I can't see 25.
oh, it's back a few, back, that one.
Mhm.
Where does the collapsed lymphatic vessel start? And,
Okay, I'm gonna say it's running from here on down to about here.
so the empty white space to the side of that isn't really part of it?
I don't think it is. It could be it's branching and this is part of it over here, but I don't see an endothelial lining. I just don't see how you see kind of a darker, I mean, a wider band of pink here? That's a very thin cytoplasm and endothelial cell. I don't get a hint of that up in here.
Okay.
Okay, and so where I know it is right through here. Okay, I put the lumen right here, I mean, put the star, right here, right here, right here, somewhere along this line right here, I put a star in there. All right, and that then brings us to the mock practice.